What is up, YouTube? What is up, YouTube? It has been a while. The last video I uploaded was my audition tips video, I believe. Well, I mean, I posted some singing videos, but I don't really count that. I mean, that counts, but you know what I mean. Like, I haven't posted any like videos that I've had to like edit and like really sit down and take time to make the video. You're probably wondering why the title of this video is so weird, like, you know, little black boy singing opera. One of the questions I get the most is like about my origin story. I know, you're probably thinking, origin, you're 19 years old, your origin is now. People always want to know like in depth, like how I got started, how I ended up at Curtis, why did I decide to sing opera and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna try to make this like a short condensed version of the story, because the story can get very long. Like, we could be here for 30 minutes and I'm not trying to have that. I'm gonna do my best to make sure I tell the important parts of the story, but also making this short and straight to the point. So basically, let's start off from the very beginning. Just to give you some background, I am the youngest of 6 children, and my 2 parents, you know, we all lived in the same house when I was growing up and everything, you know, well, because that's usually what happens with a family. Being the youngest of a musical family, so I just feel like everything just kind of trickled down and, you know, hit me hard. I really had the passion for singing. When I went to middle school, I was in choir, which had like, you know, it was a really good choir, like in terms of, you know, all the performances that we did. There were a lot of opportunities for solos. In middle school, I was usually the one that sang at anything that needed a national anthem. I was pretty much the one to sing it. There was one day they made an announcement and they were like, Suitland High School is having auditions for their performing arts program. And I was like, performing arts? I like performing, so I decided to apply. I'm sitting here thinking this is like gonna be a school that's like, I can't even think of a school and like I'm thinking it's gonna be kind of like High School Musical. We're gonna show up and, you know, do like choreography like Glee or something. I don't know what I actually really don't know exactly what I thought, but I thought overall that they was gonna teach us how to sing like Beyonce. At this time, I was interested in being a gospel singer, like a gospel singer. Even though the requirement said we would have to do an art song, like perform an art song in an audition, I still, it didn't click for me. And the art song was in different languages. I mean, it was one of the 24 Italian arias we had to learn. And I chose Alma del Core. I don't know why, but I think it was because it was short and it seemed real simple. So that was what I did. And I learned it through a YouTube video, because back in that time, I couldn't read music at all. Like, I didn't know anything about reading music. I mean, I knew the 5 lines and 4 spaces, but that was pretty much it. There's like this one part that's got this like, I don't even know what to call it. I guess I'll call it coloratura or whatever. It's not really coloratura, but I remember the guy who was over the program, like, he was like, who taught you how to do that? And I was just like, I mean, that was just what the video did, and so I just did what he did. And I mean, this was a video of a student singing it, I remember, because it was low quality and it was a young guy. But I learned the pitches and just sang it the way I was gonna sing it with my voice. I guess he heard something and he decided to take me, and I'm just gonna say this one little part. I did not qualify to go to this school. I was a terrible student. I've been a terrible student for most of my academic career, in terms of middle school and high school especially. You had to have a specific GPA, overall GPA, to go to this school, and I did not meet the requirement. Actually, I'll let you know a little secret. I had to go to summer school the summer between 8th grade and 9th grade to even go to high school, or else I would have been held back in 8th grade. That just gives you a bit of insight into what kind of student I was in 8th grade. I rarely did homework. I did poorly on tests because I didn't study. I just hated the idea of schoolwork. Thankfully, that guy, not that guy, but the guy that was over the program at Suitland called my mom and was like, I don't care what his report card says, I want him to come to my school. And so I ended up at Suitland High School. Now, when we first got there, even though I had done the art song and all of that jazz and heard everybody else singing in their songs for their auditions and stuff like that, it still didn't click that this was like a operatic, like a classically based training school. I was told that we would get voice lessons and we had choir every day and stuff like that, and and we had juries, you know, people were telling, I guess I just missed something, because I don't know why, but I remember when the first day they were passing out sheet music for the national anthem, and I was like, I can't read music yet like that well, like really at all, and so I can't really read the tenor parts. So this is what's going on in my mind. I'm like, I can't read the tenor parts, so I'm just gonna sing the melody, the melody. Jeez, I can't talk. Everyone gets started, and like when the music is starting, I'm all excited because I'm getting ready to feel like I'm like, oh, I know the national anthem. Oh, say can you see? Like, you know, I was about to go in, and then it starts. And I hear everybody, oh, say, can you see? And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I remember I was in the front row, I was sitting in the middle, I was sitting between like a few upperclassmen, tenors, they were juniors, and I was shook. And then the sopranos doing an octave higher. Oh, say, can you see? And I was like, what the heck is going on? I was really confused. I remember, I feel like a few days went by because it still didn't hit me. I'm really showing my true colors to y'all. I was not a smart kid. Like, I think it still took a few days for me to really realize that this was like, we were going to be getting voice lessons in opera. I think it was my first lesson, and he wanted to work on the song that I auditioned with, and I was like, why don't we work on like the national anthem? Because we also had to prepare the national anthem for our audition, but they didn't ask me to sing it. They didn't want to hear it. I was trying to figure out why he didn't want to work on that or like some other song. And then it hit me. And I remember I went home pissed. I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, let me tell you what's going on at Sula High School. You know, they got me in there doing, taking voice lessons to be an opera singer. And she was like, what? You know, all impressed. And I was just like, yeah, mad. I was so mad because I was like, I don't want to be no opera singer. What do I look like? She told me, you know, with some of the people that she knew, she had heard that like classical training is some of the best training you can get for the voice. It's very healthy singing, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't care about none of that. I didn't want to stay. But my mom, being the mom that she is, she didn't give me a choice. Because, you know, me being a minor, I couldn't have just decided to transfer, and she wasn't having it. She was like, you're gonna stay there and you're gonna learn how to sing opera, and you're just gonna do it. Fast forward a little bit into my first year, I started to realize that people were kind of starting to tell me that there was something there, and basically saying like, you know, I had this natural talent for it. And I started to realize that and try to capitalize on it. I'm just trying to skip forward to get to the whole Curtis part. I went to a few summer programs. If you want to know about those summer programs or some of those summer programs, you can check out my video about some programs. I remember it was like my sophomore year, and my teacher, my voice teacher at the time, was asking me about, no, it was my junior year. My teacher was asking me about schools. And I was like, I don't know. No, it was my sophomore year. I was like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. And he was like, well, have you thought about Curtis? I was like, what's Curtis? She's like, oh, it's this school in Philadelphia, and if you get in, it's free. And I remember the pianist that was there that day was like, oh yeah, it'd be cool if you could get into Curtis. And I was like, oh, a school that's free. That was literally all I knew about it at that point. Even going into my junior year, I totally forgot about the school, and I was just mostly thinking about Juilliard, because I remember one of the guys who was over the program was like, hey, you should audition for Juilliard, like just to see like what would happen, you know. And I was like, okay, cool, that might be a good idea. My teacher was basically expressing to me, you know, that he saw potential in me and blah blah blah. But then randomly everything changed once senior year came, and I decided, like, I made my decision. I don't really know what, I don't think it's necessary for me to talk about my whole college list decision period or whatever. Maybe that's for another video. So my final list ended up being Curtis, Juilliard, San Francisco Conservatory, Boston Conservatory, and George Mason University, which is a university here in DC or Virginia, something like that. And the funny thing is, that was the exact moment that everything just flip-flopped. Like, in that moment when, because we had to go around the room, all the seniors with their parents there, and kind of announce, you know, just tell him what our list was. And when I said that, his first thing was, you're aiming too high. And I was like, what? First of all, I never wanted to audition for Juilliard. You were the one that gave me that idea. I also didn't even know what Curtis was. That was my teacher who gave me that idea. And so when he said that, it was kind of embarrassing. And my mom, being my mom, was making some faces and almost said a few things. I remember after a few weeks, my parents were up at the school. I don't remember why, but they were. And then we started talking about college. And he said, people that they want, they've already, you know, taken. Like they already know the people that they want to take. Like, you know, like these are rich people who have connections in high places, or just good people who are connected and have connections in high places and blah, blah, blah. We were just like, okay, that doesn't really make any sense. So then why have auditions if you already know who you want? But that's what he said. Well, this is what my parents were thinking. I was discouraged. I was like, man, you know what, he's right. I can't even sing. Like, what I look like trying to get into Curtis or Juilliard. When I got the auditions for both, like, they happened within like maybe 2 or 3 days of each other. I got the Juilliard audition first, the Curtis audition first, and then the Curtis audition, and I was so shook. I was so excited. And I remember my mom called him on speakerphone in front of me without him knowing, and told him the news, and he was like, well, you know, Aaron has people rooting for him or doing things for him on his behalf, basically implying that he sent some letters or some emails to people asking them to give me an audition, which is funny because now being at Curtis and knowing a few people at Juilliard who, you know, tell me how it works, I know for sure that that is not how it works. Also, this guy, this is not my voice teacher, by the way. This is the guy who ran the voice program at my high school. Also, this guy would try to make it seem like he had friends in high places, and it's so funny because I would remember in all of my auditions, everyone would ask me, who's the guy who runs the program at your school, and I would say his name, and everyone would be like, oh, I don't know who that is. And I just thought it was so funny because I knew that he just kept saying to me, like, you know, he has friends in high places or whatever. He kept trying to tell me that he was the reason I got auditions. Fast forward to audition time. I remember when I auditioned and I got callbacks for both. And when I came back to school, you know, I was all excited. You know, this is after spring. My auditions were happening during spring break. And so I remember coming back from spring break to school, you know, all excited. I had posted the news on my Snapchat when Snapchat was really, really popping, and on Twitter and on Instagram and even on Facebook, I believe. And so my friends, you know, my real friends, were happy for me. And I remember somehow he found out, because I didn't tell him. Somehow he found out, probably from one of his little rat students, because he had some of those, you know, students who were in disguise, and they would try to figure stuff out and relay the message back to him. So he saw me, and the first thing he said, like, this is fresh out of spring break, and first thing he said was, so how many black people were there? And I was like, what? And he's like, at your auditions, how many black people were there? I said, 2 or 3. I told him that. He was like, that's why you got a call back. And I was like, okay. At this point, my confidence was a little bit up, like, in myself, because, you know, I had just got a callback for Juilliard and Curtis. So it was a little bit easier for me to deflect that comment that he made, and I was just like, all right, whatever. Then I got in to Curtis and Juilliard, and word spread like wildfire, and there were a bunch of people who were excited. Well, not a bunch. There were a good chunk of people who were super excited for me. I was like the second person to get into Juilliard, and I'm the first person to get into Curtis from my high school. And so that was like a big accomplishment, and they were all, those few people were excited for me. What I took from that situation was he just wanted to be in control of my life. Like, he didn't care what I wanted to do. As long as I was doing what he wanted me to do, or what he thought was best for me, he would have been satisfied. But yeah, that was his whole thing. And you're probably asking me, you know, you never really talked about how, you know, you decided to sing opera. Like, you know, you went to school, and you said you hated it. And yes, that is true, I did. And the funny thing is, I actually 100% did not decide that I wanted to be an opera singer until I got to Curtis. I didn't start liking singing opera until I was a junior, but I still didn't want to be an opera singer. I didn't think I could do it because I was black, and I didn't see a lot of little black boys singing opera other than Lawrence Brownlee, and I didn't sound like him. I felt like because I didn't sound like him, that meant like I couldn't do it. That was the only kind of African-American male voice that I knew of at that time. I never really fully thought through it like that, but it was still in the back of my head, and I was just like, I can't do this, so I'm not even gonna try. So I'm gonna go to school, and I'm going to school somewhere and get an undergraduate degree in vocal performance. I'm going to do very well, get good grades, so that way I can qualify for a music education degree somewhere else. I was thinking I was going to go to UMD for a music education degree, or maybe a master's in vocal performance, and then I was going to be back in Maryland and teach voice somewhere, or like teach at a daycare or something. Just teach kids some music or something, like teach a choir in a middle school or something. I had a meeting with Michael Eliason. Well, not a meeting, a coaching, which is usually more like meetings, at least for me, because we usually just talk. I sat in his office and he asked me what I wanted to do with my life or with my gift or anything, and I was like, oh, I want to be a teacher. And he's just like, what? I was like, yeah, I think I want to be a teacher. Like, you know, I'll do some recitals on the side, you know, because I'll have a degree. And, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, I can get paid to do some recitals, some concerts and stuff like that. Maybe do a little bit of opera. But I want to be a teacher. And he very nicely was like, we don't do that here. Actually, no, first he said, I have a feeling that's not really what you want to do. But if it is what you want to do, I can just tell you right here and right now that that's not really what we do here. We don't train people to become teachers. That's something that they may or may not decide after they leave here, but our goal is not to train teachers. But if you want me to hook you up at a school that program is a little more geared to that, I can do that. But ultimately, I don't really feel like that's really what you want to do. And when he said that, I had to really look inside myself and be like, do I really want to be a teacher, or do I just feel like I can only be a teacher because I'm not good enough to be a singer, or because I don't want to work, I don't think I can do the work that it takes to be an opera singer. And so I remember the exact pivotal moment in my life. My school put on a production of The Rape of Lucretia by Britten, and of course none of the first years were in it. We were in all the operas for the year except for that one. I remember I went to go see it. It was double cast, and I saw both casts. And I remember the first night, as soon as they all started to open their mouths, these are all the older singers, singers who have been there for a while, singers who have gone to other schools like Juilliard and Oberlin and MSM before they came to Curtis, and has had a bunch of training before, more mature voices, more control over their voices. And I remember as soon as the singing started, like something, I can't even explain what it is. I remember something just happening, and me watching them sing, especially the tenors who were singing the male chorus part, which, if you don't know, the opera is an actual role, but it's called male chorus. It's more like a narrator. And there's this sick aria, and I remember being like, whoa, I can sound like that one day. Like, maybe not necessarily the exact quality of sound that they have, because, you know, we're different people, but I mean, like, I can have as much control over my voice as they do right now someday. This is possible. I can create art like the way that these singers do someday. One of the tenors, Jemez McCorkle, is African American. And one of the sopranos who sang the female chorus, which is also one of the narrators, is also African American, Tiffany Townsend. And it was so interesting, like, because at that point I had never gone to see an opera live, I don't believe. It was so interesting being in the room watching people who look like me singing opera on stage, and I was like, whoa. And the rest was history. I remember that exact moment. It touched me so much just watching them up on stage, like as if they were professionals. You know, even though they weren't, just because they're students. Not saying they can't sing, because they were fantastic, but they're also still students. But you know, when you're 17 years old and like looking at them, you don't really see them as that, because they're so amazing. And you're like, oh my gosh. From then on, I was like, okay, I'm dedicating my life to opera. I feel so great to be able to say that I'm a part of such a great community and such a great art form, such a fantastic art form. and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I thank you guys for watching this video. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button below, and leave some comments if you have any questions or any videos you would like to see in the future, because I know there are so many that you guys want to see, but you guys don't send them in the comments or message me. You'll message me on Instagram and then I don't see it, or on Facebook and then I won't see it, and then you get mad at me. So just comment it down below. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.